All right, here we go. Here we go. Just want to introduce myself right quick, and then we're going to talk about no code tech jobs. So, if you don't already have the notes page, head over to my Patreon. So, it's patreon.com/Alicia B Coaches. So that's Alicia, Alicia, and B like buzz buzz, the B, and then coaches. Once you're over on my Patreon, you can go into collections, and the collection says free content at the top. And inside free content, there will be a PDF. So the PDF is just the notes page that covers everything that I'm going to talk about. Um, so go over there, grab the notes page, come back, or stay and listen, and then download the notes page later. So we're going to get right into it. I'm Alicia B. I am a technical job career coach. I've been in the tech space for about 15 years now. A majority of that experience was in Agile. Recently, I've done some project management. So the roles I've held were business analyst, scrum master, product owner, product manager, and project manager. And then all of those are in the technology space. I've found that when I meet people and tell them what I do, they always have a ton of questions. Normally, how do I get into technology? And can I do it without learning how to code? And do I need a college degree? Um, and I would say in the past 5 to 10 years, most companies are moving away from you have to have a 4 year degree to even apply because they know that technology changes so much. You're basically learning something new every 2 or 3 years. So even if you're not doing coding, like even me, I don't code. I still have to keep my certifications up to date. And every 2 or 3 years, I try to get a new certification. So since it's more about certifications that you have and on the job training and experience, they're not looking for the college anymore. It's can you do this? Have you done it someplace else? Can you get over here and do it for us with us not having to spend a ton of time training you? So when I explain that to a lot of people that I meet, they're like, "Oh, well, maybe I can get into technology. Tell me more about it." So that's really how I got started. Really, it's just me sharing experiences with people I know or people that I just meet. And some of my experiences have been tough. Like I've even had a manager say, "Oh, AJ, I spent your training budget for the entire year on the engineers um, because I didn't think it was worth it to train you." Which is like rough. Like, how do you handle that? I guess other challenges I've gotten into is working with difficult people, trying to figure out how to get two people to stop fighting. And we were like face to face, like in a room trying to get some work done. So I just kind of share those experiences on how I've evolved in technology, how I've stayed in technology, and how I moved through all those different jobs. And then the other thing I wanted to say about technology is that the jobs are flexible in terms of time when you work. Like, this isn't you got to work 8 hours a day from this time to this time. You got to take your lunch from 12 to 1, and that's it. I have worked at a few of those jobs, and oh, they're difficult, right? Because it's like, I'm grown. Just trust me to do my work. Trust me to do my work, get things done. Please don't clock me. And as a matter of fact, I need to leave early because I gotta go to school and sit through a chess awards, or I need to take my kid here or there, or I need to go pick up my sister and take her to work. So the jobs are flexible in that afternoon and really even in the morning because a lot of the work that you're doing, you're on a laptop, and 9 times out of 10, at least two people on your team are overseas somewhere. So because you have a team where part of the people are overseas and then part of the people are here, it's not like you could say, hey, let's just meet at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Because 3 o'clock in the afternoon could be the middle of the night someplace else. So what ends up happening is most companies will say, well, the company headquarters is in the central time zone. So no matter where you are in the world, central time zone, we want you to be available for meetings between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m., right? So that everybody has the same expectations. We're expecting you to be available for pings, setting meetings, last minute events, pre planned events between those 2 hours. So anything before, anything after, that's your own personal time to, do your own personal work, right? Um, so even after like that 1 p.m. cutoff, sometimes people will ping me. So ping just means kind of like it's like an instant email, right? Kind of like a text message, but on your laptop. Sometimes people will still ping me, and I will answer if I'm working on my laptop, right? But a lot of times people may ping other people, and they're like, "Look, it's outside of that, you know, that time frame, so I'm not gonna answer, right?" So because it's flexible like that, where all the work is kind of compacted and focused, you could take maybe a 2 hour lunch instead of 1 hour lunch and go run some errands, go drop people off, right? When my kids were in school, what I would do is I would leave like around 3, go pick them up, take them to whatever after school activities, kind of like start dinner a little bit, like come up with a plan to lay stuff out, right? And then I would log back in and work another 2, 3 hours after dinner, right? So for me, it worked out great because I was able to get that time block, take care of my family stuff, and then log back in to finish my work, right? So really, that meant you don't plan meetings for anything at any time after 1 p.m. because we already have this nice specific gap. So because the gap is earlier in the day, it allows you more free time and flexibility later in the afternoon. So when I explain that to people, that's why I want more women to know that there are some jobs that are flexible like that. There are a lot more work from home jobs now that we're post COVID than pre COVID. And a lot of those work from home jobs are technology jobs that are also flexible. So I would love, love, love to see more women get these jobs. Um, so then the next thing people ask is they're like, okay, AJ, I don't have any work experience. Is this good for me? No, we need you to have at least 5 years work experience. And that's because the job that I'm going to recommend is a job that is really based on building relationships. Like you got to understand and know how to talk to people, direct, firm, but still be personable enough to get your point across, right? So I really tell people I only want to work with people who have a couple years of work experience. Ideally, if you're in a process job or like an admin job, something where you're doing like a repetitive process, because the information that you're using is the same information that a business analyst, that's the role that I recommend, is the same information that a business analyst is going to use to write the directions for the programmers to do all their coding. So some examples of that would be people that are maybe working at a bank or a financial office where they give out car loans. Of all the steps it takes to get a car loan, you may have concentrated on steps 3 through 8, right? And if you were the admin or whatever, or the data entry person or the phone call person for steps 3 through 8, and you've done it for a few years, you know what it takes to get through each step, right? You know what happens before, you know what happens after. So that same information you can pivot into technology because now the programmer needs to write a report on step 7, right? Who knows what should be in this report? Well, you do, because you used to deal with this report for a couple years. You know about step 7, you know what comes before, you know what comes after, so that you're explaining what the business needs in this report for step 7. You're going to explain that to the programmer. The programmer is going to make the report, make the change, and the programmer is going to ask you, okay, BA, go back and double check. So you're going to test what the programmer did, right? You're going to test it and then go back to the business to show them, okay, this is what he created. I think it looks good. You take a look, you tell me if it looks good, right? So that's why I think that people that have that previous knowledge would be good as business analysts because they already have that previous knowledge. And then the next thing people ask me is, how hard is it? So then I'm like, well, hard is a difficult word. So the reason why I say that is because each one of us, we have different skill sets, right? Some people are good with their hands, some people are good with planning, some people are good at organizing, and some people are really more analytical than other people. And by analytical, I mean like the speed it's going to take you to solve problems, your ability to teach yourself stuff, your ability to learn. Everybody's at a different level. Um, so I do have a quiz that also lives out on my Patreon site. Um, and the quiz is like a 30-minute, it's just a 30-minute quiz. There's maybe 6 or 7 answers. Once you go through the quiz, it's really just me on a video talking through some slides. I ask the question, I explain what the answer should be, and then at the end of the video, I'm like, hey, if you got 4 or 5 or 6 of these right, then a tech job is going to be good for you. If you didn't, here's some other resources. Here's some other jobs that you might consider. So this video is called How Do I Find Out If a Tech Job is Right for Me? So it's on my Patreon, but it is not under free content, it's under basic content. So it's almost free. So here's the thing. It's in order to see the video, you need to join my Patreon, but just for 1 month, okay? Just for 1 month, and it's $15. And you're like, ooh, I don't know, AJ, $15. I go to the movies off the $15. Okay, you could, but it's also a 7-day free trial. So basically, you can sign on, put your credit card in for the $15, watch the video, right? You got basically 6 days to watch this video. After that, cancel your membership because you already see the video. So that's why I consider it as almost free. My Patreon is patreon.com/Alicia B Coaches. My Patreon is also, it should be in the show notes, and it's also on my YouTube, like on the beginning part. So let's see what else I want to cover. I think that's it. Now we can head over to the notes page. So now we are on page 2. On page 2, I just cover some of what I offer. So I do offer some classes, but the classes are inside the memberships. I have 3 membership levels. The one is the free level. So there's some free content there. Then there's basic, and then there's advanced. So basic is going to cover introductory lessons like what is agile, what is waterfall, how does a tech team work, what are some interview questions that I should be preparing for these BA roles. And then the advanced is into backlogs. What's your second 90 days on the job looks like, how to run the agile ceremonies. It's broken up like that. When I was doing meetup classes last year, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I love this class, AJ, but I really just want to talk to you one on one. I want you to help me with my specific problems." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't have a lot of time to do one on one." But I realized that for some people, they're just not comfortable in that group situation, right? So I do also have a one on one experience, and that's like a VIP. So it's me and you for 90 minutes, my laptop, we're on Zoom, and we're going to work through whatever it is that you need or whatever issue that you want to work on. The 90-minute one on one also comes with a 20-minute planning meeting so that we're going to plan what we're going to cover in the 90 minutes. Because sometimes, depending on what it is, I need to do a little bit more research, put together like a 1 or 2 page document to summarize what we're going to do. Or if it's something in terms of like the backlog, then I need to go and create some user stories for us to work with. So the planning, the 20-minute planning is included in the price for the one on one. So those are all my offerings. Oh, besides the live. And then I go live Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Central, Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Central. And then during the lives, I'm covering these notes from off the cuff and answering any questions that come up. All right. So we've talked about technology jobs having flexible work schedules, also having higher than average salaries. The tech jobs, they just pay a little bit more money, right? Generally, jobs that are more analytical are going to pay more. And when I mean pay more, I think the average entry level BA position right now is between 75 and $95,000 a year. Um, with that being said, that can increase if you work at a company for like 2, 3 years and then switch to another company 2, 3 years. You can get steady increases on top of that. All right, moving on to the next page. Page 3, how tech teams operate. Okay, so tech teams are comprised of developers who are also called developers, coders, engineers. It's all the same title. Really, that person is the person that's just doing the coding, right? So you probably have 4 or 5 of those people. Then you need a tester. So that person is writing a test script. So a test script is like a plan. How are they going to validate that the fix or change that the coder made actually works correctly? So the tester is devising their test based on the requirements for whatever this change is. So that's like one person. Then you're going to have 1 or 2 BAs or business analysts. That person is working with the business. So the people that are asking for the change, they are gathering requirements, talking to them about what they need, and then they're kind of writing it up and it's put into what we call a user story. So they're writing it up in the user story in order to hand it over to the coder to code. So far we've got a programmer, a tester, and a business analyst. That comprises of your team. Your team also has a scrum master and a team lead. So a scrum master is someone that's going to run the team's different meetings, is going to work on metrics. By metrics, I mean like how many of these user stories can you finish in 2 weeks? Of the user stories that you finished, how many were in production and they didn't fail? So you didn't have to go back and change anything, right? So the scrum master handles that. And then the team lead is handling like the team stuff, hiring, firing, personal development plans. And then sometimes the team lead has to go to other teams to get help, get sign off, get something else. So generally, this group of people, they'll meet every day for a short like status meeting. And then there are other meetings that basically help move all those changes through a process, get them tested or confirmed, and moved into production. Let's see, did I cover everything? Yep. So, one thing I wanted to say about Scrum Masters is that you can get a certification as a Scrum Master and then just put that on your resume and try to get a job as a Scrum Master. That's going to be very difficult because the Scrum Master generally is someone who has worked on a technology team before so that they know how technology teams operate. So, because they already have this work experience, when they get to the Scrum Master level, it's a lot easier for them to fix problems, deal with issues, plan things for the team, because they've already been working on the team. But I've met a lot of people who thought, well, let me just learn what Scrum Master does in this cert and go get this job. But the interview questions are, okay, explain what you're going to do if there's an argument or two engineers are disagreeing over something, or explain what you're going to do when new work is introduced to the team that wasn't already pre-planned. So the questions that you're getting asked in an interview are questions related to your experience doing the job. They're not the questions that were on the test for the certification, if that makes sense. So basically, companies are looking for Scrum Masters who have some other experience, either experience on a technical team or they were a Scrum Master someplace else. I did want to cover that. And then we already talked about why I think business analyst is the best role. There is another role called project manager. Um, but project manager is so broad that a project manager and what they do kind of varies from company to company. But a business analyst, you write user stories, you gather requirements, you do testing. There's not as much variability, which makes it easier to plug and play that role in different places. So that's why I think it's easier because whatever training you get at like company A, you could pretty much carry it on to company B. But because project managers just vary so much, it's not as easy for me to prepare you to be a project manager. So generally, project managers also have come from someplace else in that business so that they just follow what the other project managers at that company are already doing. Um, and project managers, they keep track of the high level plans for people. So I think at that level, you also need to be able to interact more with different levels of leadership. Whereas a business analyst, you don't need that so much. So to me, it's easier to focus on the business analyst role than the project manager role. All right. And now we're on to the page. Now we're on page 5. So, why is the business analyst role the best role to begin your tech career? So, business analysts are the glue that hold the team together. So, the business analyst writes the user stories. Sometimes they run some of the meetings. They also are the representative from the team that goes to other teams to resolve issues and get stuff. Um, Here's some bullets for role expectations. Gather and analyze user requirements, research, write, and test user stories, maintain and keep the backlog prioritized, and facilitate team meetings. Awesome. So, some of the skills that you're going to need as a business analyst, are going to fall under studying technology. In addition to that, there's some tools that are used for agile project management, and you'll need to know the tools. Generally, in the job descriptions, companies will tell you if they use ADO, which stands for Azure DevOps, Jira, JIRA, Rally, Plan View is one. Some people are using some stuff called Monday. Um, so whatever that tool is, you kind of need to know at least one of the tools. For me, I'm pretty good with both Jira and ADO, but only because I've used them at different companies. They kind of are all the same. What I mean by all the same is basically it's a Kanban board. So a Kanban board tracks a process from start to finish. So you write your user requirements into a user story. That will be your backlog. So your backlog is a list of things that other people have asked for. Of that backlog, you got to decide how many of these things can we do in a 2 week time span. So once you pick from the big backlog to your actual 2 weeks, you're dragging it from one column to another column, right? So at the beginning of the 2 weeks, you say, okay, team, these are 4 things that we're going to work on for the next 2 weeks. So the next day, as engineers grab those stories, now they're moving it off your actual backlog for the 2 weeks into in process, coding, start, begin, whatever the team wants to call it. And as it goes through, okay, now it's going to get into testing. Now we're going to get ready to move it into stage. So, stage is just an environment that happens before production. And then we're going to move it into production and then we're done. So, as you go through these stages, the card is going to move from left to right across the board. And that's what the Kanban is. So as long as that agile project management tool is some form of a Kanban, you basically can learn on the job and figure it out. What other tech skills? And then I also suggest that business analysts become more technical by shadowing the engineers that are on your team. So make sure that you're meeting with them on a regular basis because a lot of times, if there's like a more senior engineer, that senior person will meet with like a junior person and maybe they're talking about a specific technology or they're working on a specific user story together. Listen in on the conversation so you can start following it and learn about what technologies your team is actually using. Other ways to get more technical would be to maintain your certification, um, read white papers. So you find white papers by going on the internet. Generally, there's different online technical magazines you could follow. Sometimes you can just sign up and they'll email you the stuff, right? So you follow up with that. You can also go to meetup groups that are for the technologies that your engineers are using. You can get a ton of information there just by showing up to the group. A lot of times they may have demos or a practice environment, and you bring your laptop, you can just get in there and practice with them. And then finally, joining professional organizations. There's a few different organizations just for business analysts, and they also have training on their websites, interview prep suggestions, and they have conferences. All right. And that brings us to page 7. We've almost covered all of the notes pages. Page 7 is what does Alicia B. Coaches offer to prepare you for applying to BA roles. And again, my website is there. On my website, I have some articles. Those are free. My community is there. That's my Patreon. And then, of course, video. So there's a few videos on my YouTube page, And then the live, come ask questions. And then live is Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Central, Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Central. And then the last page, page 8, ton of resources, right? So the resources are broken into concepts, tools, self-development, and then at the bottom, I have a list of organizations and networking groups. And that's it. That's all the information that I cover from off the cuff. So again, if you want to ask me questions, you can ask in the live for free. I also have a call. It's just $50, 20 minutes. And that is on my Patreon. It's called a contact call. And I do also have VIP, so that's 90 minutes one-on-one with me. And if you want to take the classes are linked with a membership. I've got a basic level classes and advanced level classes. Other than that, I hope everyone has a good rest of your day. See you next time, friends.